What's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is Recovery Plugs. My guest, Lester Deckard. Say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, say hello again.
How y'all doing?
How y'all doing?
Glad to be here, and I'm glad you invited me, Donnie.
Heck yeah. It's one of my best friends, and he definitely has a story. What we do here at Recovery Plugs is we've traded in the dope plugs for recovery plugs. If during this interview you hear any place that you might want to reach out to, it'll be tagged in the description. Anyways, let's hear something. Tell me about let's hear about you, Lester Deckard.
Okay, so this is Recovery Plugs. Well, I guess I'll just start from a real young age.
Hold on. This young age means that's like a long time ago. I'm sorry.
Right, it was a long time ago.
Okay.
So I just remember as a kid, like, not quite fitting in. I always did stuff to get attention, so to speak. I did crazy stuff. I always got in trouble in school. I remember one specific time, the teacher always told us not to chew gum in school, and I always brought chewing gum to school, and I was always chewing gum. And my teacher, I did it so much that she finally put me at the front of the class in a chair and put the gum that I was chewing on my nose. So that's the kind of child I was, you know. And I guess you could say in the program, you know, a lot of people say that before I ever took a drink or a drug, I think I had like an alcoholic, drug addictive mind.
Right.
I never felt like I fit in. And then I think I was 12 or 13 years old, and I tried marijuana and beer for the very first time. And that was like the closest that I had ever, that was the first kind of like spiritual experience I ever had. It just, like, everything was like, at ease, and I felt like I could, like Superman, like it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I fit in anymore, you know what I mean? That just took me away from that, whatever I was feeling inside. And it was really crazy because that same night, I came home and my head was spinning because I drank a little too much and the weed was getting to me. And I drank a bunch of Pepto-Bismol, and man, I got up and I started to head to the bathroom, and I started puking. I puked pink all over my mom's white carpet all the way to the bathroom. And when she came home, she found me passed out in the bathroom floor, and she just went to wailing on me. But I remember even though she was messing me up, you know what I mean, kicking the shit out of me. But I still remember, man, I can't wait to do that again.
Right.
You know, and that's pretty much how my life went. Like, I just more and more and more, the more the merrier. I always tried to be the life of the party, and I always did crazy, outrageous things. But my drug habit became paramount to anything and everything. And that's pretty much, you know, how it went.
So you were addicted to drugs now at this point, where drugs were the most important thing to you. How did you pay for it? You just went and got a job. You worked 9 to 5 and 40 hours a week. Got a paycheck, bought your drugs, went back and did that. Is that how you?
No, I never worked while I was under the influence.
So how did you get your drugs and alcohol then? How did that?
So I stole. Early on I robbed cars. You know, I'd steal car stereos and whatever I could find in cars. That was from probably the age of 15 till, I don't know, 17 or 18. And then I started doing burglaries after that. And I wasn't real good at it because I got caught a lot.
Right. So your criminal activity to support your drug habits did you end up doing a lot of time? Or you could go to prison?
So it got pretty bad. Like, you know, they talk about an invisible line that you cross once you start doing drugs. After you do them so long, you cross this line where you can never go back. And I know that the drug habit, especially meth, controlled me. Like, when that bell went off, it didn't matter who I stepped on or what I did to get them.
Right.
And yes, I did a lot of time. I did 14 years in 20 years time. I never did more than 2.5 years flat, but I was never out for more than 6 months during that 20-year span. It was like life on the installment plan. So during that process, I lost a marriage, all contact with my 3 sons that I have. You know, I made a lot of broken promises, and I did a lot of pretty evil stuff, you know, to get my drugs.
So let's let me hear the story. I mean, I've heard this story several times, but I think that people really would love to hear the story that brought you to your knees. The entire thing leading up to where you made that desperation, where you were done.
Okay, first I wanna back up a little bit before that. So, you know, I did do a lot of prison time, and I started stealing copper, and this is part of my story. I used to, you know, cut into live wire all the time, and one time I got electrocuted, and it almost killed me. You know, that was just, we go to any lengths to get our drugs, and I cut into a transformer wire, and it grabbed a hold of me, and I was by myself, and I was balanced on one leg up on this platform that the transformer was on, and it just grabbed a hold of me, and the trauma of the electricity going through me made me faint, and thank God that happened, because I fell away from the current, and that saved my life. I got up and somehow made it to the hospital. I laid in there for 36 days. I almost lost my hand. You know, and I had a lot of time to reflect on where my life had come to that point, and it really didn't matter, you know, like I thought about it and I thought, man, I'm done, you know, and about 2 weeks after I got out of the hospital, after again 36 days, I laid in that hospital while they doctored me up, and 2 weeks later I was cutting live wires again. So that obsession of that insanity.
So you literally almost blew your entire body off.
Burn it up.
Yeah, blew it up to get copper, to get high. It almost killed you, and then that wasn't enough to make you stop. You went back to doing it again?
No. Yeah. Yes.
Man.
So that went on for several more years. You know, I'm not proud of it, but like I've stole the last $20 out of my girlfriend's purse that was going to go for my newborn's diapers and formula. I've stole my mom from my mother. I remember one time my mother caught me stealing $20 out of her purse, and with tears in her eyes she screamed, "Why? Why do you do this to me?" And I couldn't tell her why, because I didn't know. And I was like, "I don't know, Mom, but I got to go." Still, with the $20 in my hand, I ran out the back door. So again, that went on for a while, and to get to the part you were talking about. So I guess, you know, I like to say God saw that I was fit enough to, or God gave me another chance to raise a baby. I wasn't fit,
Right,
because I was still using. He gave me this little girl to raise, and we were inseparable. Like she was the first one that I was around at her, from the time she was born until she was about 18 months old. We were inseparable. I fed her at night. I changed her diapers. You know, I fell in love with her. And, you know, I went to steal copper one night because, you know, when that bell goes off, you got to have what you got to have. But I made the same promises to her that I made to the rest of my kids and everybody else in my life. And I broke that promise because I found myself right smack in jail again. They put me in the Wyandotte County jail. I was already on probation in Missouri for stealing copper. And I committed the same crime in Kansas City, Kansas. And when they slammed that county jail door shut, all I could think about was that little girl, you know. And she would be running around my mother's house saying, "Where did he go? Where's my daddy?" And that just, I don't know, man, that broke my freaking heart. I was full of self-pity, and I swear that there was so much self-pity, it was oozing out of me at that time for 3 weeks I just bawled, and I remember finally just not wanting to be here on this earth anymore. I just, I hit my knees and I prayed to God, God, please take me out of this freaking miserable world or make me better. And I started to get up. And then I went right back down on my knees and I was like, oh yeah, God, if you're going to help me, you better put some godly people in my path, because all I know are drug addicts and criminals, except for my mama. And that was the truth. And things started happening right then and there. Like that same week, the preacher man from the jailhouse, he came and asked me if I wanted to come to Bible study, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, pop the door. And now he may have came before, but I don't really remember it until then. And I started going to Bible study every week. And then I got probation in Kansas. How, I don't know, but I did. And then I went to Missouri, and I met some people as soon as I got there that introduced me to, I met some people that knew about a recovery house that I'd never heard of, which was called the Maple House. Mm. And he gave me a guy's phone number that I called when I got a phone call, and I talked to him and I told him, I don't know if I can be helped, but I'd sure like to give it a try.
Right.
And then he talked to my PO, and my PO recommended that I got reinstated on probation. So he did a lot for me, you know what I mean? And that's what I've learned in recovery, is we help each other out as best we can. Mm-hmm. So I went to the Maple House on the conditions that I stay there, until my PO says otherwise. And my life started changing after that.
Mm. Do you remember the day it was? Was it the last day that you did use? Was that the day you got locked up?
So it's funny you mention that, because I had been praying every day, and I'd been going to Bible study and stuff in the Jackson County Jail. I met some kind gentleman there that was doing a Bible study every day for like 3.5 months. And I prayed, and there was one scripture that I always read every morning to do my morning meditation and stuff. But when they released me the day I got out, I went to my mom's bar because I thought, I'm going to celebrate a little bit. Now, I had swore off meth forever, mm-hmm. But I had a few drinks and I couldn't stop drinking.
Right.
And later that night, I got high. Mm. So I got in a little bit of trouble with my PO, but she made sure that she seen something in me, you know what I mean, that no one else ever had, that I certainly couldn't see. And that was that I needed help, mm-hmm. And she made sure that I got to the Maple House that day. When I reported to her, she was going to either throw me in jail or put me in there, and that's where I went.
That's what's up, man. Maple House is an amazing place. So she put you in the Maple House, and then it's been easy ever since, right? I mean, just...
No. It hasn't really been easy.
Okay. So the next question, then let's go with your first year of recovery. Some of the trials and tribulations, some of the things that you went through to make sure that you didn't go back.
Okay, so the first thing is I'm a person that always had self-defeating fears. Mm-hmm. And I'm at the Maple House about 2 weeks, and we're getting ready for a meeting, and I'm sitting around looking at all the stuff on the walls, all the affirmation, and there's a part of me, I believe, that wants to kill me, and that part of me was telling me, this ain't for you. You're not going to make it.
Right.
You're going to go get high, and every time that happens, I go get high. And there was a man that walked in that I knew from a dope house that we used to do drugs in, it was obvious that he had been working a program and that his life had turned around. And he introduced himself to me because I really didn't recognize him, and he told me where I knew him from, man, and that gave me a little bit of hope, and it made me forget for just a moment, that I couldn't do it.
Right.
So I asked that guy to be my sponsor, man, because he knew the way out, you know, and I knew he was the same kind of drug addict, junkie, alcoholic that I was. And so I asked him to be my sponsor, and he took me outside and he asked me if I could follow direction. And I said, sure. And he was like, no, you couldn't, or you wouldn't be in a low bottom cement recovery house, right? And this next question was, what's the most important thing in your life? And I said, my daughter. And he's like, no, she's not, or you'd be out there taking care of her. You wouldn't be in a low bottoms men's recovery house. So, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I wanted to punch him in the mouth, but I didn't. And it was because the truth hurts.
Right.
And that's the thing that the program does, at least in Alcoholics Anonymous and in NA, the 12 steps of any program. They teach you how to look at yourself and how to dig that stuff up and get it out, and how to recognize stuff. And it was, I found out that I really didn't have a drug problem or an alcohol problem. That was the poor solution to my problem. What I really had was a soul sickness.
Right.
It was me, and everywhere I went, I took me with me. So
explain to me some of the things about the Maple House that made it the place for you to, what was it about the Maple House that helped you, that got you through the first part of your recovery?
Well, I'd have to really say that besides seeing it work for someone else, you know what I mean? Just that all the men there at that time, we all had one common problem. We had a problem, and we were all looking for the same help. And I don't know, it was just different this time, because I've been coming to Alcoholics Anonymous and in NA, my POs and judges in the past had made me come for years, but I never got a sponsor. I never worked the steps. And I think if I was to point out one thing that I did different this time that I never did before, is I actually asked another man for help.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I followed his direction to the best of my ability, and that helped me, because let's face it, all my choices to that point, I'm 50 years old and I walk into the Maple House. I'm 50 years old and I have a bag with everything I own in it, and it's all it is a couple cell phones, some bond papers, and a wallet, So.
So the men there helped you out. Did you do anything else besides Maple House? I mean, how did the men help you? Like, how did that part of it kind of guide you? And
well, there was lots of different guys there, from different cultures and stuff. But I would say a few, just the guys that were really working a program, they would sit down and get in the book and treat their alcoholism or their drug addiction, and that was big for me early on, learning about what alcohol and drugs did to me, and how, the phenomenon of craving is, and how the obsession of the mind is and stuff.
So you hung out with the winners.
I did. I was told, I like to share this often in meetings, that I built faith in God by following direction. Because I never took anybody's advice in my life, ever. Not my dad, not my mom, not anyone. Prison never changed me. I never could follow direction. I always thought I knew best. And I had this penitentiary mentality of, it's all about me and I can do this. I don't have a problem. But, I always did.
So before I get to the questions from your peers, I noticed you said something about losing your contact with your 3 sons. You had lost a marriage. You had, I heard a lot, kind of sum up the things that meth and drugs and alcohol, kind of sum up the things that were taken from you. And then tell me about everything that, you've gotten back, if you've gotten anything back.
So the biggest thing I think I lost was trust in everyone. I burnt so many bridges. I robbed my mom. I just did all these bad things. I lost a marriage that I truly cherished, but apparently I didn't cherish it enough. And then the contact with my children, I made a lot of broken promises, as I shared earlier. So those are key. And then I was always a kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think once I started using drugs and alcohol at 13, I stayed that mentality, really. I mean, it was always me, banging on the high chair, you know what I mean? And I think the men from the Maple House and the church, Maywood Baptist, shout out. The men from them places helped me learn how to be a man again. And then, so I have to share that, a couple years into my sobriety, I reunited with my ex-wife of 24 years, and we're coming up on 2 years marriage in March. Have been married again for 2 years.
That's freaking awesome, dude.
Through the amends process, me and my wife, we reunited, and then our son has seen me grow and has reached out. So I've been having a relationship with him for about a year, and the other two are a little skeptical still, but that's the bet I made. I gotta lie in it. So
yeah, that's what's up.
And that relationship with that little girl I was talking about, she's in the other room tonight. I get her whenever I want. I'm helping raising her. She's awesome.
That is awesome,
So,
dude. I love that. That's why I had to ask you. So now we go to my favorite part, which is the question from your peers throughout the community, the people that have actually watched you grow up in recovery. And we'll start it off. The first question being from Mike Hempel. Say hi to Mike because he's
Hey,
watching.
Mike. Much love, brother.
He wants to know, what does it mean when we say it's a selfish program?
So, this is for me, Mike. It's selfish because even though I work with other alcoholics and drug addicts and try to pull as many into the lifeboat as possible, that is what keeps me sober today. Doing service work, helping other people out. It's a selfish program.
And how long in your recovery did you go before you felt safe to help others? This is also Mike.
To help others?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started helping others as soon as I got there. That's what they teach you. Like, the best way to get out of my own head is to help somebody else. If I'm helping you out, I'm not worried about me.
Right. It's a good one. So, this is from Christy. She wants to know, what happened the first time you experienced a psychic change?
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't really know if I experienced the psychic change. I've had the psychic change, but I was taking a 9-month coin,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a gentleman, the same gentleman that got me the bed in the Maple House and that talked to, shout out John Walden.
Mm-hmm.
He helped me get there. He shared in my behalf after I took my coin, and he told me he told everyone that I was like the poster child for a psychic change, that I'd in fact had the complete psychic change. So that was the first time that I probably realized that, I was getting better. I was on my way.
So tell me the story about the cigarette butts.
Oh wow! So at the Maple House, that's good. I forget some of the story, but at the Maple House you have to do chores, and if you're late to morning meditation, or if you get a check mark, and I had gotten a check mark, and my job for getting a check mark was to go pick cigarette butts up in the front. So I grabbed a butt can, and I practically filled it up, and I touched some of them, and they were slobbery wet, and it was really gross. But it made me, this is a spiritual experience too. Like it made me like not want to throw my cigarette butts down on the ground ever again. So I went and I bought me an ashtray for my car, and it led me to one time I was walking down the street with a guy after work, and I had bagged up all of our trash out of the boss's truck, McDonald's wrappers, Gatorade, and start walking down Nolan Road to the bus stop with the bag of trash. And a friend of mine that I live with at the Maple, he's like, "What are you doing, Lester?" And I'm like, "I'm walking to the bus stop." And he's like, "No, dude, you're walking down the street with a bag of trash." And I kind of heard God say, "Yeah, I don't want you to throw that trash down there," and that's just a reflection of what the program does for me. It made me change the way I was.
It's a psychic change.
Yeah.
when did you recognize in yourself that something was different?
You know, it wasn't really an awe moment, you know. I just gradually started changing. I would say about 6 months into the program, after I had worked all the steps and I just started doing things differently. And it's weird when you look in the mirror and you kind of like the guy that, well, at least for me, you know, because I used to like not want to make eye contact with the guy in the reflection when I was shaving. And now I can like look at the guy in the mirror and see and like the guy in the reflection. So I'd say about 6 months.
All right. This one is from Becca. She says, what is it like to go to meetings every day?
Oh, that's my life. Like, that's just what I do. I get irritable and discontent when I don't, like, make meetings, you know. Like, right now is a bad time for that, you know. There's a lot of groups that aren't open because of the COVID thing. Thank God I have the job I have, you know. I get to work with guys every day. Shout out to Gateway. Love you guys, man.
So what got you to that point to where, like, you have to have a meeting? Like, what was it? Was it something that the Maple House made you do? Was it something that you, like, what got you to where you felt like you need to go to meeting every day?
It's just something that, yeah, at the Maple House, like, we had meetings every day, and I lived there for 14 months. So,
right.
You know, I very seldom missed a meeting at the Maple House, like morning and evening. So you get used to that, and not only that, but you never know when there's going to be somebody there that needs you.
Right.
You know, so I just got in the routine of that, and it just got molded into my brain. Like that's just what I do.
That's a good habit.
Yeah.
So here's one from Coach Bob. It says, what do you do now to stay sober? Specific steps.
Well, I hit my knees in the morning. I make my bed. I do the same things that I was taught at the Maple House early on. I call my sponsor every day. You know, I put my reliance and dependence upon God. And I just basically the same things that the Maple House taught me, man.
So Gina wants to know, what do you do or what do you enjoy most about your recovery?
Everything. Like, so they say in recovery that what do you have to change for your recovery, and you have to change everything. So therefore, every part of my life is like glorious today. Like my cup runneth over. I can't even begin to explain the joy of the life I had today. You know.
That's what's up. Jeff Walters, you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
He says, what's the most important thing recovery has given you?
The most important thing?
Mm-hmm.
Probably me being a man.
Gave your manhood back?
Well, you know, I shared a little bit about it earlier. I was selfish and self-centered to the core, and recovery has given me just, again, a life like I never could have imagined, but I've grown up, you know. My wife, you know, I got to put my wife out there too, because without her, you know, I don't know where I'd be. She's a good woman. I love her very much.
You'd be hungry and probably homeless. Probably,
and I'm probably supposed to say that.
I mean, she
should be watching.
She is like right there. So, this is from me. Not to be funny, but, and I'm really not trying to be funny. You were pretty old when you got clean. So what was getting a job like? What kind of struggles did you have with employment?
So, again, I shared earlier, I was 50 years old when I got to the Maple House. You know, pretty much a lot of my life had already passed. And with all my felonies and stuff, you know, getting a job was pretty hard. You know, I worked under their table early on. And my sponsor directed me through the years, kept at me to try to find a job that had a future, you know. And it was weird because it's kind of a God thing, because once I started doing that, every job that wanted to hire me, my background shut that door.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of doors shut for like 6 months, which led me to the current job that I have now. I applied at Comprehensive Mental Health Services to be an MHT, and like I still had to pass the background. But what happened was I went through what they call the exceptions committee,
yeah.
and I had to write a letter of why things would be different this time, and then have some other people backing me up, and I got accepted. And it's an amazing job. I get to work with the Gateway program. I get to work with other drug addicts and alcoholics that are just now trying to get sober, you know. And I don't know. I think that God shut all them other doors, so because He wanted me to have this job.
Well,
I really believe that.
And also, I went through the same thing, the exception committee, and the people that you get to actually write letters for you are people that are important, that have actually, gotten credit from the community and from everybody, and we get those people by being obedient and doing what we're supposed to do. As long as you were working, just doing whatever job you could do, you stayed obedient and you continue to do it. So it helps a lot when you're going to get exception letters to have that back, have them people to support you.
Absolutely.
So what does this is Stephen Hank, whatever you pronounce this dude's name, Stankin' Hanky.
My sponsor.
Yeah, that dude. You're not supposed to say sponsor. This is an anonymity. But Stephen Hanky, what does surrender really mean?
Giving it all up, like everything. My surrender is like, so if you're in an army in a war and you surrender and you throw up the white flag, you don't keep a knife in your boot. Mm-hmm. Like you throw everything down and you ask for direction. Mm-hmm. Like, and then you follow direction. So I hit my knees and I put my reliance and dependence upon God. I surrender. And that's what I did in this program. I just surrendered to it. I surrendered completely. Everything they asked me to do, I tried to do to the best of my ability. And I'm not perfect. Some of the stuff I struggled with.
So somebody asked, so there's the next question. No, hold on. What was your biggest fear in your addiction and your greatest fear in your sobriety, Darren?
Biggest fear in my addiction? I was going to die that way. That's just it. That's what I thought. Mm-hmm. That was my biggest fear. That there was never going to be a way out. And then what was the rest of it?
Now that you are sober, what's your biggest fear? What has been your biggest fear since you've gotten...
So, I'm always... And I think this is a healthy fear. I'm always, I know that there's another relapse out there waiting on me, doing push-ups, working out, waiting to pounce on me. But I don't know if I got another recovery in me. So I try to stay plugged in and do this thing to the best of my ability, because I know that it's right around the corner waiting.
So Barbie wants to know, what's the best thing that has happened in your life while in recovery?
2-part answer.
Let's go. We got
my wife, reuniting with my wife, mm-hmm. and then having my son watch me grow, and then reach out to her. Hey, I'd like to have a relationship with my dad. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff, man.
Heck yeah. Yeah. So what does it? So no, Zach wants to know, you're one of your coworkers. What do you like most about working in the recovery field?
Well, we all get stuck on one. What do I like the most about working in the recovery field? I don't know, man. Here's the way I look at that. Like, I was hopeless. You know what I mean? I was hopeless, and I didn't think I would ever get sober. And today, because I did get sober, I feel like it's an obligation that I try to pull as many into the lifeboat as possible. It's my passion. Like, that's what I want to do.
So what's up? So, I'm trying to think of some extra questions since we ran through those so quick. Lester was prepared for anything that I had for him. He's ready to knock it off. So I'm trying to think of some other stuff because I know you really well. What's the worst mistake that you've made since you like? So one of our biggest things is I just don't want to be sick today. I do not want to be sick today. But we do things in our recovery that kind of give us that sick feeling. What's the worst thing that you've done? What is the hardest thing that you've overcome since you've gotten clean and sober?
You know, we're selfish and self-centered, and I had so early on in mine and my wife's relationship this time, I didn't know how to act. I still don't all the time, I would have to say that just using what I've learned, you know what I mean, what I've learned in the program, which the number one code is love and tolerance. That probably helped, probably saved my marriage for the second time. Just being able to show love and be tolerant over whatever, you know what I mean. And I married her in front of God, and I made those vows not only to her, but I made those vows to God. So, I have to do my part. So
tell us about Maywood. How did Maywood help your recovery?
I was wondering when you were going to bring that up. So another thing this program helped me do is find a relationship with God. So all my conceptions of God when I got here were really trash. Like, I believed in God. I believed Jesus died on the cross for my sins, but that's as far as it went. I didn't really even look at that totally the right way. I thought I was bad. God is good. There's heaven. There's hell. I'm going to hell. That's just what, my conception of it. So I always ran from God. I always, would never go to church. I would never go do any of this thing. Well, I started going to, actually, this is how I got into Maywood. It was my sponsor at that time had me doing service work. And we were mowing the church every other week. It was my turn to mow. We would go mow on Saturdays to make the lawn look real nice for Sunday. And I did that for probably a month or two before I ever walked in the door. And then I started walking in. Hey, when you're around these people and you see them, I started going to the church, and I really liked it. And not only that, I had started this journey with my God, and I don't know, man. Like, a lot of the guys from the Maple were going there, and I resisted for a little while, but then I completely surrendered. You know what I mean? And I started having this relationship with my higher power, who I choose to call Jesus Christ, and it's just been a wrap. And then the men and the women there, but mainly, Pastor Bob and Pastor Jake, they taught me a lot. There's a lot of people from there. Shout out to Marcus. I love you too, brother, and Becca. I got a lot of mentors from there that I follow too. I don't know. It's been an amazing journey. I have a phone full of contacts, man, that I can call for anything. I don't have to today, but if I did, I call a lot of these men on a daily basis. We keep in contact because we keep each other accountable, man, and I think that that's a God thing. So
That's what's up. So, just to wrap things up, if you were to tell somebody right now, maybe who is thinking about making that step into recovery, or what I'm saying, they're ready to make that change, what are some of the advice that you would give, and or direction?
So I think one of the most intelligent things that I ever did, my sponsor told me to stay away from the playmates and the playground. And you know, that meant that I had to stay away from my mother's house because my siblings were actively using. That's tough. Like, that's really one of the hardest things that I ever had to do to get sober. In fact, it is. But I did it. And like I said earlier, you have to change everything. That means the people. The people. Like, that means staying away from family until you're spiritually fit enough to go around them. You know, if they're using. I don't go to dope houses. I don't, you know, my brother and sister actively use, and I don't hang out with them. And that's sad to say, but it's the truth. But they understand, and they're happy for me, and it's just something that I have to do. But my advice would be, truly, I had to get a sponsor. I had to follow direction. I built my faith, again, like I said earlier, by following direction. I just did whatever they told me to do, and it's contrary action. A lot of this stuff I didn't want to do, but I did it anyway, because all my decisions led me to a low violence men's recovery house. My decisions up until I was 50 years old wasn't real smart. So if you're struggling, you might be making the wrong choices. You may need someone to guide you in the right direction. I know you're a big part of my sobriety, you know. There's a lot of men that I just became good friends with, you know, through the years or through the months early on, and then we rode this together, man, and it's been a heck of a journey.
Held each other accountable. Definitely good advice is to find someone else that's doing the dang thing that is already in recovery. Best way to change your life is to change your playmates, for sure.
Yeah.
So we got you've given a shout out to Gateway. You've given a shout out to the Maple House. Any other places that you might recommend for someone that might want to reach out or that?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the Good Foundation. Very good place. They house a lot of men and women there. And then there's the Victory House. Shout out to my boy Tommy McGee. I love you. Yeah. So, and then Maywood Baptist, man. Maywood Baptist.
Definitely.
Reach KC.
Find a church. Find some church folk.
Yeah. Good people. Good men and women.
All right. Well, that's it, man. I'm really not sure who the next guest is going to be, but we will air this Thursday and we'll do it again. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Oh, yep.